Gururbrahma Gururvishnu Gurudevo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam Tatpalam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Bandhushcha Sakha Tvameva Vedyadravitam Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Yatha sarvani bhutani pratibhanti stithani cha yatraivo pashamam yanti tasmai satyatmane namaha. So, who can chant this evening?
I can chant.
All right. And where are we in our text?
We're on number 15 on page 328.
Do you have a copy of the book?
Yes.
Nice and loud so the Zoomies can hear you.
Sure. Is it number 5 or 15?
Say again, Mark.
It's number 15,
On 327?
328.
8. Naitata Jagrata Nacha Swetna Sankalpana Asambhavat Naitata Sushupto Bhavo Napi Jadataya Abhavata. This is neither the waking state nor the dreaming state, on account of non-existence of thoughts. This is not even the state of deep sleep, on account of absence of the dullness.
So again, we're having an echo of the Mandukya Upanishad talking about the Turiya, the fourth. And again, it's not like there are 4 mind states: waking, dream, deep sleep, and Turiya. It's not like the 4 feet of a cow, is how Shankara says it. But it's the 4th in our series of discussion. So we discuss the waking state. We discuss the dream state. We discuss the deep sleep state. Turiya is the consciousness in which these 3 states revolve. And by the way, when we say dream state, we mean all altered states as well. So if you do ayahuasca or you have a past life regression, or whatever that is. We'll just lump that in the dream state. Anything that is phenomenal is waking state, dream state, and deep sleep, when the mind is folded up into its seed form. So the Turiya is the consciousness that witnesses those three states. And in Samadhi is still there when the mind ends. So with a verse like this, we always interpret it in two ways. If we're talking about Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a mind state. It's a mind state where the mind ends. So if we go back to our study of Tripura Rahasya, there Dattatreya talks about Prakasha, the light of pure awareness, and Vimarsha, deliberation, meaning the appearance of any kind of thoughting. Anytime the mind is free from Vimarsha, that is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. People have fleeting samadhis all the time. But if you do not have the preparation of what to expect, and the attention is focused outward, a friend says, Daniel, what were you thinking about? You look like you were spaced out. Oh, I don't know, I was just spaced out. Meaning the mind had stopped, but it does no good to free us, because before the mind ends, what are you aware of? Trees outside the window. When the mind returns, what are you aware of? Trees outside the window. Does not do any good. So even with a fleeting samadhi, the attentive faculty has to be turned within. And when the mind returns, it has this aha. Oh, I get it. There's nobody there. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Chidananda Rupaham, I'm of the form of bliss consciousness. Now, some yogis have the great punya, the great kripa, the great grace, to have samadhi last for an extended period of time. And when the mind returns, you literally see creation take place. All the creation myths, in my opinion, are poetic attempts to explain the return of the yogi from samadhi. So here's the self, here's the mind, waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, watch carefully, samadhi. The mind returns, oh, I see, there's nobody there. That's what happens. But it can also be just a click, a flash. So rather than make your goal Turiya as a mind state of no mind, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, put your focus on the question, do you know who you are? That's the purpose of samadhi, is to reveal that. Now, some Vedantins will actually say samadhi is not necessary. Others say the mind will not give up its identification with the ego without it. All I can say is you can tell when someone has the capacity to let go of the mind and revel in the self. Deep, deep emptiness of Sthita Prajna Purusha. Now, another definition of Turiya and its revelation is not so much that it's a mind state where your thoughting ends, but it's another definition for yourself. Samadhi is defined as where knower, knowing, and known are merged. Get rid of all the vimarsha, all the deliberation. What's left? Myself. But in truth, even when the phenomenal world is perceived, you are nirvikalpa. What do I mean by this? How do you know you are you? You do not see, hear, taste, touch, or smell yourself. You don't emote yourself. You don't think yourself, yet you do not doubt that you are. How do you know it? I don't know. I just know it. I am the knower. I am the means of knowledge. I am that which is known, never as an object. So it's another name for the self. Back to Tripura Rahasyam. In the story of Hemaleka and Hemachuda, the beginning third of the book, Hemachuda has entered into deep samadhi. Oh, the bliss. And Hemaleka comes up and pulls on his robe and says, my Lord, comes out of samadhi. Says, oh, how is it that you know of this divine state? You're not in it all the time. Leave me alone. Let me go back to samadhi. And she goes, my Lord, how can it be perfect if its gain or loss is accomplished by the opening or the closing of the eyes, the length of 8 grains of barley? You are as far from the truth as the heavens are from the earth. And then she teaches him that he has to begin to see the self in and through all the objects of the world. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All this is verily Brahman. The names and forms are pratibimba, just reflections, like reflections in a mirror. Don't worry. It's all Maya. It's all Ananda. So then, whether the person of steady wisdom is in meditation or functioning in the world, where the mind is immersed in samadhi, or an ordinary mind doing tasks, I never disappear. Oh, Jim, I had an experience of myself, but I lost it. Then you haven't gotten it yet. When are you ever not? And the key is don't believe the mind. The mind itself doesn't believe itself. Then you won't get tangled up. You can't think a real thought. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Jagrat Swayam Prashu Pakya Traya Rupa Hi Chetasa Shanta Dora Cha Bhutha Cha Tratma Chitta Ihasthita. The three states of waking, dreaming, and sleep are indeed conditions of the mind. Here, the mind is threefold in nature: gentle, violent, and dull.
So here, this gentle, violent, and dull is a reference to the gunas. Gentle, sattva, violent, rajasic, dull, tamas. Swamiji only slept 4 hours a night. You know what his experience was during those 4 hours? I know nothing. Thomas. He would say, I never sleep. People believe that he was up all night. No. The self never sleeps. Only the mind goes through its permutations of the gunas. And in Gita, Krishna says, be you ever vigunai, beyond the gunas, that ever remain in the sattva condition. Well, make up your mind, Krishna. Are we supposed to be beyond the gunas, or are we supposed to be in the sattva guna? Yes. It's a paradox. My only problem is my mind. The self haven't got any problems. The self is never bound. It is my mind that is the problem, or that's where the problem is. What is my problem? My problem is spiritual ignorance. We just covered this in Atma Bodha last week. Last week. Shankara thunders. The cause of my problems is avidya. Actions do not remove ignorance. Knowledge removes ignorance. How does that manifest? First comes the veiling power. I think the veil comes down, avarana shakti. Then comes the vikshepa shakti, the projecting power. I think I'm a person. The world of name and form is solid and real and separate from me. And I've got kartavya, jonesing. I must have this. I need this. I'll be happy when. It'll be better if. That's bandha, is my bondage. What is liberation? What is moksha? There is no other liberation than the deeply rooted conviction. Not that I'm a realized person, but that I am Brahman. Chidananda. Not this mind. And I'm not the play of the moon. Swamiji would say the way to heal the mind is to get out of the mind. This brings the mind into sattva. What is the mark of the sattvic mind? Knowledge of my own true nature. Knowledge of the nature of the world. It is non-activity because I don't have compulsion anymore. Supreme peace, Paramashanti. Supreme contentment, Santosha. Then watch the body, mind, intellect play its role in the world. Garnering its successes and failures with conducive and non-conducive environments. Stay rooted in the self, meaning remember who you are. When we started the Atmabodha class, in the front piece, there is the first verse of another Shankara poem. It's called Pratha Smarana Stotra. Do you remember the first line at all?
Prata Smarami Kriti Samspuradavatapvam.
Yes. What's it mean? In the early hours of the day, I meditate on the truth in my heart. Actually, smarami doesn't mean to meditate. What does smarami mean?
Contemplate.
Praise.
Remember. Smriti. Remember it. Meaning Shankara stops in the morning, early dawn, takes time to Chidananda. It can mean meditate, but the literal meaning is actually remember. All right, next verse.
Gora Jagran Vyaya Chitta Shanta Swapnamaya Sthitam Buddha Sushupta Bhavastha Trini Hinam Mruta Bhaveta. The mind consisting of waking state is violent. It is gentle when it consists of dreams.
Say that again. The mind in the waking state is
The mind consisting of the waking state is violent.
violent. Okay, I'm sorry.
It is gentle when it consists of dreams. When it remains in the state of deep sleep, it is dull. It would be dead, bereft of three states.
That's interesting. He reverses it. He says that it's not violent in dream, but it is violent in the waking state. So he says the waking state is rajas, the dream state is more sattvic. Doesn't matter how you do the paradigm. The whole point is the mind moves through its states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. And even in the waking state, dullness, agitation, clarity. And what was the last part? I spaced out on the very last part of the verse.
It would be that bereft of the three states.
It would be that.
It would be that, like that. Bereft. It's a new word for me. It's B-E-R-E-F-T.
Bereft.
Bereft
Bereft.
of the three
Means
states.
without.
Without.
Okay. I didn't understand it.
I mean, either.
So it means, what is that? That is the witness of the waking, dream, and deep sleep states, and all the various mind states in those various states. Sometimes we have nightmares. Those are pretty violent. Sometimes they're pleasant dreams. I dreamt I was in school this morning, and I looked out the window and the Dalai Lama walked by. Kind of cool. He didn't say hello or anything. He just walked by. Illusion. So is this. The self is beyond the mind. And when the mind ends in samadhi, self remains. All we need are little glimpses. Depth in meditation is more important than length. Tune up the mind. Just listen to the traffic. Who hears it? It's just sound moving through space. There's no person there. Next verse.
Tascha Turya Mruta Chinta Sattva Ekasthita Samama Tadeva Yogina Sarve Yatnata Sampadayanti. And that Turiya state, where the mind is dead, consists of one being, existing equality. All the yogins indeed accomplish with effort only that.
Yes. So again, this Turiya is looked at in two ways. In these verses, he is implying the mind state of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Those moments of taking when the eye remains. But always, we also say Turiya is another name for me, for the self. Whether I'm perceiving objects or not. Next verse.
Chitta Satta Param Dukha Chinta Nasha Param Sukha. सिद्धांतो शास्त्रणा सर्वा pahav eva hi. The existence of mind is the greatest misery. The destruction of a mind is the highest bliss. Established view of the scriptures concerning the self is only denial of everything.
Yes. So it doesn't mean that thoughting is bad. I have to get rid of my thoughts. I've got to be drooling in my diaper. No. The flow of thought, the perception of objects is not inherently problematic. Yoga Vasishtha defines the mind as only three thoughts. Jiva Bhavana, I think I'm a person. I think I'm my body. I have a goal of some sort. That goal only takes one of two forms. I either need to fix the world or I need to fix me. And the third thought is struggle. That is the mind. That is what needs to be destroyed. The scripture is not implying some state of insensibility. That's not freedom. That's not. If I think I'm a person, I'm deluded. Drop it. If I think I'm a person, the mind always presents. Resolve the struggle of ego. More, better, different. I'll be happy when, it'll be better if. Drop it. I want. Drop it. Let it go. Long as those three elements are there, the mind is there, the world is there, samsara is there, maya is there, wheel of karma is there, dukkha is there. Drop the mind, meaning only those three ideas. Sukha, sweetness, happiness is there. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Shanta eva chidakashe brahmati shabdite pare kichinta nirniya shunyatva kechita vignana matratan kechita ishvara rupatva vividante parasparam sarvameya parityajya mahameni bhavanat. In the sky of pure consciousness, which is only calm in that supreme spirit designated as Brahman, some people ascertaining the state of voidness, certain others state of mere knowledge, and some others state of form of a god, quarrel mutually, sinless one, renouncing quiet everything, become one observing the great silence.
Yes. So the Buddhists will say ultimate reality is shunyata, void, there's nothing there. There is no ultimate reality. Others say there's the form of the God. What was the third one?
the third one.
There was
Ah.
Shunyata, there was the form of a God, but there was a second one, which I forgot.
Some people ascertaining the state of voidness.
That's the first.
Certain other state of mere knowledge.
Okay, thinking it's just book learning. Meaning I have memorized the Shastras. I can quote them chapter and verse. That's what we call paroksha jnana. Indirect knowledge. You can have thorough intellectual understanding of the Vedanta. Unless you have aparoksha jnana, direct experience, meaning you've had thinness of mind, tanu manasa, destruction of mind, mananasha, so that you can see directly there's nobody there. It's shunya, empty, because it's without form. Chidakasha is the term used in this verse, my favorite. The space or the sky of consciousness itself. But it's also purna, full. Full of what? Me. Bhava, being. You are a conscious, sentient being. You are the conscious, sentient. Words fail us. And again, Gaudapada in the Mandukya Karika says, Abhya Kadesha. Upadesha means to teach or to talk about something. Upadesha. It's untalkable in the end. Go there. Meet me there, Swamiji used to say. Next one.
Nirvana, Nirmanana, Kshir Chitta, Prashantadi, Anta, Sarva Parityagi, Vahi, Guru, Yatha Nagata, possessed of the highest felicity.
The highest what?
Felicity, F-E-L,
Felicity.
Destitute of thinking, with a mind that is thin and an intellect that is calm, perform outwardly as arrived, renouncing everything inwardly.
With a mind that is thin, was that the word you said?
Is thin, yes.
Yes. So you thin the mind out. Again, this tanu manasaha. Meaning you don't have to walk around with high beam eyeballs, no thoughts. It's not necessary. Just thin the mind. How? Quit believing your mind. Then do as you will in the world. Fulfill your duty. According to your assignment by Ishvara. This is your task this life. Spend yourself in love in this world. We're talking about the Yajna spirit last night. Empty it all out. No involvement in the world, but not of it. Stay ever identified with the Chidakasha, the sky, the space of consciousness. Next one.
Bhumika Traya Rohanam Shri Rama Uvacha Sapana Yoga Bhumina Abhyasa Kriyate Katham. How is the practice of a 7 yoga step carried out? Question mark.
So again, we refer to the Sapta Jnana Bhumikas earlier. In this section, he's calling them Yoga Bhumikas, the 7 steps of yoga. So Ram asks, how do you carry them out? We've just finished explaining what they are. Going on.
Vasishtha Uvacha Pravrutrasya Nivrutrasya Bhavati Dvivida Humana Kriyata Tatanam Nirvanavara Sansrutirevame Iti Nirnaya Kartaya Sapravutta Udayata. A person who is of 2 kinds, pravratta, or one who is engaged in, and nirvatta, or one who has abstained from.
So here he says that there are 2 kinds of people, those who are engaging in life and those who are refraining or abstaining, the sannyasis, the monastics, the ascetics. So let's see what he says about these 2 kinds.
So the English commentary or the translation was just 2 sentences, and then the next page.
Please read the commentary.
Yes, it continues. Of what consideration is that called nirvana? In a bracket, or liberation, or beatitude, or everlasting and a perfect response, bracket closed, question mark. For me, worldly existence alone is preferable. He who acts having decided thus is called pravratta.
So here he says, acting in the world is preferable to leaving the world. Now, we've got to see some of the historical context of this. So even in Buddhism, in Theravada Buddhism or Hinayana Buddhism, the assumption was the only people who were eligible for liberation were those living a monastic life. You had much of the same kind of idea in Hinduism, that in order to attain liberation, you had to leave the world and become an ascetic. Then you had the advent of Mahayana Buddhism. Could you gain freedom and live and function in the world? So the Tibetan Buddhists are Mahayana Buddhists. We have the same shift when the Bhagavad Gita was written. You go to an earlier text like Kathopanishad. So you have Nachiketas. He's the ideal of the perfect renunciate. Leaves home, everything, goes to the mansion of Lord Death, sits outside for 3 days, no food, no water, not engaged with the world at all. But then 180 degrees the other way, you've got characters like King Janaka. Was a king, an enlightened king, functioning in the world, ruling the kingdom, fighting his wars, acquiring wealth, etc. Or even Arjuna, a soldier on the battlefield, doing his duty in the world. Your prarabdha karma will determine what shape your life will take. What this verse is saying is, in the end, it doesn't matter. If you are attached and identified with your asceticism, you're not free. Look at me, I'm so pure, I'm a breatharian. I've not only given up meat and dairy, I don't even eat vegetables anymore. I'm a breatharian. I'm so pure, I won't touch anybody, let alone dead bodies. I am a goody goody. Can't you see how pure I am? That is not freedom. There's a very famous Zen story. A group of Zen monks come to a river ford, and there's a woman there, and she says, alas, the river is too deep, I cannot get across. So one of the senior monks says, here, climb on my back and I'll take you across the river. He crosses the river, sets her down, and the group of monks keep walking. Several miles later, one of the younger monks says, sir, how could you do that? We've taken vows not to touch women. How could you have done that and compromised your vow? I mean, that's so impure of you. And the older monk says, I set the woman down at the bank of the river. You are still carrying her 3 miles later. Do you see the point? So, Yoga Vasishtha is a text that is not aimed just for ascetics. Notice all the stories. Nobody in the story is an ascetic. We've had demons, Karkati. We've had kings. We've had fallen Brahmins who become Brahma Rakshasas because of their desire. All sorts of characters. The point is, moksha is available to everyone, to anyone. Remember the story of Chudala and her husband. Remember, they're the king and the queen. They decide to do spiritual austerities. She attains self-realization. He goes off to the forest to do ritual. And she acquires siddhis, goes out there in the form of a young Brahmin boy. He's Kumbha, which means pot. You have to give everything up if you want freedom. He says, I've been doing this for 12 years and I'm still not free. Give everything up. What do you mean I gave up my kingdom? All right. I'll give up my hut. I'll give up my ritual vessels. Cool, says not enough. All right. I'll give up my clothes. I'll be sky clad. Cool, says not enough. He says, all right. I'll give up my body. I'm going to jump off the cliff and kill myself. Kumbha says, not enough. And the king says, what's left? Help me out here. Kumbha says, give up the mind. It is the only thing we need give up. And if we don't give it up, we've not given up anything of any real value. What does it mean to give up the mind? Give up your belief in the reality of any information your mind delivers. I cannot think a real thought, including the thought I just thought it. This world is like a dream. No idea of self is real. Not at all. And don't worry about the world or what your body does in the world. It's unreal. Next verse.
Asara vata samsara vyavastha mamaytaya iti nishvayavana yo ta sanivrutta iti smruta. Alas, the state of worldly existence is insipid.
Insipid,
Insipid,
which means stupid.
in bracket, or worthless. Enough of this for me. He who is possessed of such a conviction within is regarded as nivratta.
Okay, so what is it I need to do about the world? Give up my investment in the world. Now we have to be careful. Yoga does not advocate flesh hating. Your body's not evil. Your body's not bad. The world is not evil. The world is shunyata, is void. Best example I can give. You go see a photograph of a beautiful mountain with a stream and flowers and everything. Oh, it's so beautiful. But what's really there? Pixels. There's no mountain, no stream, no flowers. It's not anything more than imagery. That's all this world is. If you drop your phone and break it, oh, I've destroyed the mountain. No. It's just a big hologram. Pretty to look at, but insubstantial. How do I work out my desires and aversions. When desire and object of desire become one for a moment, I get a kiss of the bliss of Brahman. It's a taste of my own self-nature. I've used the object to momentarily induce a state of, for most of us, relative desirelessness. It feels good. And in my foolishness, I attribute the happiness to the object, or the person, or the situation. For the woman or man of wisdom, the mind goes through the same dance. Oh, that really stopped my mind. Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. That is the mediated experience of the bliss of the self. If I could just let go of the world, then I can get the non-mediated experience of the self. There is no medium in the way. Next verse.
Katha viragavana mutva samsara ti tarampyaham eva vicharavana ya syata sansarottarana rati sa bhumikavan ityukta shesha swartha iti smruta. Having become indifferent to worldly attachment, how shall I cross over the ocean of worldly existence? He who can thus be possessed of reflection with regard to the crossing over of worldly existence is said to be one who has stepped into yoga.
Yes.
The rest are considered to be self-interested, in bracket, only attending to the needs of perishable body and the ego, which veils the truth.
So it's not just having vairagya, detachment, that without the accompanying desire to be free, without the capacity to reflect, is basically a nihilistic state. Life sucks, it's terrible, why bother? I think I'll shoot myself. So this is a spiritual midlife crisis, which is a good thing. I don't want the red sports car. I don't want the toy boy or the trophy wife. I'm not going to get the hair transplant. Where can I find real happiness? What is the truth? The real meaning of life? Here the scripture says when we get to that point, finally, we've become fully human. Before that, we're basically just an animal. Next verse.
Kriya sudara rupasu krimate bodhate yada gramyasu jadachestasu viraga bhupa yati cha bimeti satata papat nacha bhogam pekshate. Desha kalo papannatni vachananya vibhashate. Tada syo prathama prapta shubhecha bhumika. When one is developed in and rejoices.
When one is what?
When one is developed.
Developed. I don't know what word.
Developed.
Developed. Okay.
In and rejoices at actions of a noble, in bracket, exalted, nature attains to aversion in vulgar and stupid actions, is ever afraid of sin, does not require enjoyments and speaks words suitable to the place and time, then he has reached the first step called subhecha,
Auspicious desire.
desire.
Yes. So I didn't quite understand it. Can I ask you to read the English ones? I'm having a hard time because I think you're having a hard time with some of the English.
Sure.
Okay.
When one is developed in and rejoices at actions of a noble or exalted nature, attains to aversion in vulgar and stupid actions, is ever afraid of sin, does not require or wish for enjoyments, and speaks words suitable to the place and time, then he has reached the first step called subhecha.
So the first step is auspicious desire, meaning I've done some work and I'm avoiding the vulgarities of life and I'm rejoicing in being able to develop a bit of spiritual discipline. Oh yeah, I meditated, didn't do it 7 days this week, but I did 4. That's an improvement. I meditated 20 minutes every time. That's better than the 5 I've been doing. I've finally given up cigarettes. I rejoice in that. I've had a terrible time with gossip. I'm doing better. At least when the people around me start getting into gossip, I don't engage. I take on, is it kind? Is it necessary? Is it timely? Is it truthful? I do my best to not be a jerk. Yamas and niyamas, basically. Then we are at the level of auspicious desires. We're putting it into action. Next one.
Vicharaneti samprukta dvitiya bhumika gata shruti smruti sadachara dharana dhyana karmana ashritya parintashrestan vibhagagdo bhavantyaka dhamma dihin shastreshu guru sajjana sevaya sa rahasya asheshena yathavata adi gachanti.
One who has reached the second step called vicharana or investigation, having resorted to the best of scholars, consequently becomes the knower of the divisions of the Shruti or the Vedas, the Smritis or treatises written by sages interpreting the Vedas and prescribing codes of conduct, virtuous conduct or way of life, holding concentration according to yoga, and techniques of meditation. Bereft of pride and the like, he duly acquires entirely the esoteric teachings in the scriptures by means of service to the Guru and virtuous people.
So that's pretty self-explanatory. We set out on this journey. We take time to study scripture. Now, I'm going to push back on it. Shankara says, without knowledge of the self, study of the scripture is futile. With knowledge of the self, study of the scripture is again futile. If you do not have a teacher and you can't discern a valid commentary from an invalid one, you can get lost in the forest of the scriptures. I don't have the capacity to know what's important. I actually had a student who was a classic scholar at Cal Berkeley, Greek, Latin, and Sanskrit. In those days, Sanskrit was in the classics department, not in South Asian studies. Confused beyond belief. And so we did a trade-off. I helped clear up his doubts, and he was my first Sanskrit tutor. So we found a scripture that was appropriate to where he was. We started on Vivekachudamani. Very soon he began to be established in his own nature. And it's not just the hearing of the scriptures. That's a setu, that's a bridge. But then taking these instructions, endeavoring to apply them. I learned to discriminate. First, just worldly discrimination. This is punya, meritorious action, meaning it leads to quiescence of mind. This grossifies my mind. This gets me in trouble. Stay away from that. We learn to discriminate with people. Of the three refuges of the Buddha, one of them is taking refuge in the Sangha. Keep holy company. Paramahansa Yogananda used to say, environment is stronger than will. The opposite idea is if you hang around a barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. Oh, I'm going to hang out with all my friends who get drunk every Friday night, but I'm just going to have a Coke. Chances are, if you keep doing it, environment is stronger than will. Discrimination. Later on, we begin Atma Vichara, discrimination into the nature of the self, inquiry into the nature of the self. The highest form of discrimination. All right, we're going to quit here and we'll finish. We're probably on the 5th Bhumika, I think, at this point. And
So verse number 32 on page 331.
verse number 32. Good job. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.